Alright, well, g'day there. Richard Musgrave-Evans here again and welcome back. Now today I'm back in the studio, got a big stretched Belgian linen, got a white primer, palette knives again and buckets of oil paint. Now I've just discovered this new beach in South Australia, absolutely beautiful place. I've done some small works of it and I really love it. Now it's time to get a major work going. So I've quickly just drawn it up so I don't bore you with all that sort of stuff. Next minute we'll get straight into it and these are the colours we're going to be using. Viridian green, magenta, phthalo blue, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, titanium white and cad yellow. That'll be all the colours. That's all we're going to need. Let's get into it. We'll go with the biggest differences now. What I'll do is I'll start blocking in some darks and then gradiate my way off into the distance as I go. Once I've got that in, put the rest in. Alright, let's go. Okay, get some alizarin crimson, viridian green, that'll make a nice dark, the opposite on the colour wheel, a bit more of that alizarin crimson, a nice red dominant, a bit more of the green to centre that darker colour. Okay, now, where's the first major dark's going to be? Around here I reckon. It goes on beautifully, I can feel that. I've been doing a lot of painting on board, hard board recently, and I'm loving the feeling of this softness of the canvas. It feels great. Alright, so we've got a few darks there. Now we'll go for the next layer. Alright, the next layer will be, I'll get a bit of magenta and some phthalo blue. A little bit of white just to lighten that value. A bit more magenta. Just feeling my way here. I'll grab some of those other colours from earlier on. A bit more magenta. Let's just see what I've got here. That's going to need a bit more burnt sienna, a bit more of a brown dominance to do that one. So we'll go brown and magenta and see what I got. It's kind of nice. I like that, a bit more magenta, a bit more burnt sienna. It's really livened it up. I'll stick some down in here too. There's going to be a bit of shadow cast down through here. Maybe a bit there. So we'll put the bulk of these shadows on. Once I've got the bulk of them on, you can easily paint over this shadow, and that's probably the best way to do it in oil paint. Like you can paint dark over the top of light, but it's actually a lot easier to put the darks on first and gradually work your way to the light. Anyway, I can see this is moving around. I need to tack that down a bit. That'll hold that there. Another bit of one here, I reckon. Stick one in there. Right, that's got that sorted. That's not going anywhere. Okay, next layer. Keep on going that burnt sienna. Whoops, yeah, there we go. Magenta, bit of blue, bit of white to lighten that value. Magenta and blue. Magenta and blue. A bit more magenta with that, just tweaking it as I go. A bit more white. That's not too bad. So we've got like that. That's working. Let's keep on going. Magenta, blue, titanium white, just to lighten the value, a bit more of that strong blue, and magenta. A bit more of the burnt sienna to knock the chromatic saturation down. I'm going through that magenta, a lot of it, I'm going to have to get some more out. And come down in here, like so. Oh, it's always a joy to get on these big canvases working these real big monsters. Totally cool fun. Alright, maybe a bit more burnt sienna and alizarin crimson, so there's a slight more red dominance, just slightly redder up the top here. Okay, now I'll go back a layer, so I'll go lighten that value a bit with white. Go for some alizarin crimson or magenta, either one's fine. It's giving that similar colour. come down nicely in there. You can see it's slightly lighter in tonal value. Just enough there's a staggering going on here as it recedes off. And we're up there. I'm going to have a bit of stuff here. A bit more red dominant, so I'll use magenta for the reds. Brown, red, blue, magenta. A bit more just in here, darken that. A bit more of the magenta. I might go a bit of red and green too, because this is going to be foliage in here. A little bit of red and green inside those shadows. Cool. Let's drop it back a layer. We'll go slightly cooler and slightly lighter in tonal value. So we'll go for some blue and white on the top of all those. So it's more blue dominant now. Just feeling them away at the moment. Right, let's get some more white, phthalo blue. Mix it in with some of those other colours that we've already got there to knock it off a little bit so it's not just pure straight blue. Some beautiful shadows forming on these hills here. I'll just go a little bit higher up there. Light and shadow, what lovely stuff. Really creates form when you use light and shadow. Okay, now let's go back a layer. So we'll go slightly lighter with a bit more white, a bit more blue. So there's less of the magentas and browns and whatever else and a bit more of the blue. Subtly gradiating it as we go. So we've got the darkest darks going lighter and lighter, and even here it's receding off until we get to, I might actually go a slightly smaller knife because it is a little fiddly in this corner. We'll use a little bit more white. More of that phthalo blue. Bit of darks in there as well. Alright, so that's basically got the shape. So just lighten that blue at the back here because it's dropping. That's slightly darker there, slightly lighter there. Alright, and then there's one more headland. We've got the distant headland off here, and this is actually Kangaroo Island. You've heard me talk about Kangaroo Island a lot. This is the mainland here, South Australia. I'm looking across to the island over there, Kangaroo Island. So I'm just going to stand back and make sure I'm getting everything in the right shape. But that seems to be taking place all right. Alright, so I'll keep using the smaller knife. We'll get a bit of white to lighten it even more on top of all that. A bit more white again. It is right off in the misty distance, so we want to go fairly light. There's a lot of coastal haze, etc. Just catching that edge here, getting my horizon line level so we don't get a wonky picture. That'll do. Alright, now I might just get a few yellow ochres, burnt sienna, Viridian green. I'm just going to knock up a little bit more in the shadows here. We'll go Viridian green, burnt sienna, Viridian green. Let's have a look. Just want to knock up the foliage, cover a little more in the shadows of these Norfolk Island pines. There, bit of that there, a little bit of green here, and a bit of green there. A bit of greenery there. Right, so just got to get everything right at the start. It seems to be taking place. All right, so we've got our darks established now. Doing gradually lightening, starting off dark with a lot of warm colours in it, like reds and magentas and browns. Gradually going more into the just magentas and blues, and often into the cool blues up here. Right, back into the sky. All right, so obviously we're going to use a lot of white. We'll go for all this stuff that we've already put down in the form of magentas and whatever. We want a bit of a kind of a grey, mauve horizon, I guess you could say. So adding white to these other colours that are already here is getting us somewhere near the mark. Let's have a look. It's a fairly neutral, salt haze sort of colour. What's the tonal value? It's quite dark. I don't want to go too light at the same time because I want a fairly contrasting picture, and if you make everything lower in key, it's a lot easier to accent then and use your pure whites for accent. So the white canvas can always delude your eyes. It always makes things look darker than they actually are. So that's looking really dark. And it is kind of fairly dark, but it'll lighten up like you would not believe as time goes on. I reckon I'm going to have to make KI slightly darker though. KI's tonal value there looks to me to be just a little bit too light now. That's why I like to block everything at once, because if you start finishing and putting all the finishing details in certain areas and not even getting the other area blocked in, well, your eyes can get deceived by the white and whatever else. So it's best to get all the colours in as quickly as you can. Once you've got a lot of the canvas covered, then it's a lot easier to judge the values and get everything correct, and then start reeling in the detail on top of that. So you won't do a whole lot of detail and then realise, hang on, I've done a whole lot of detail, but now it's all not quite the right colour. I want everything slightly lighter or everything slightly darker. Make sure you get those basic mother colours, those tonal values correct, then start putting your detail on top of that. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go now for a different part of the sky, slightly higher. We'll go phthalo blue, I'll use some of that as well. Plenty of white and some yellow ochre. I want to get some ochres in the sky. Maybe burnt sienna, any of those ochre colours. You could use burnt sienna or yellow ochre. Lighten that value off with plenty of white. Let me just see what I've got here. Alright, what do you got? Get that on. I'm going to go a layer of blue. This is just a very small layer of this stuff. Put that on. Now straight away, I'm going to go for more phthalo blue and white, less of those ochres. Going through tons of white. Get that light value. Get that on. And she goes. It's going on beautifully. Mixing with that slight green layer. Pull them together. Might even get the brush out, you never know it. Do a little bit of blending. The brush is very good for blending, but at the same time, just keep on with this for a minute. The knife can be, you can do it with a knife. Just pulling that magenta salt haze down into it too. You can do it with a knife, but sometimes it's just a little bit quicker once you've got all the major colours in. To go for the brush and just brush over the top, and it really smooths it off very quickly. It's good. Now I'm going to add the next layer of sky. So we'll go white. I'm going to start introducing magenta into the mix with the phthalo blue, so there's less of the ochres, less of the green and more of a red blue as it gets higher. And also slightly darker in value. Put that on. There she goes, she's going on nicely. Always plenty to do in a big painting, plenty of work. Good workout at the same time. Get a lot of things ticked off all at once. There we go, that's good. Going up there. More white, going up a layer, magenta, phthalo blue. You could use any sort of blue. Phthalo blue I find is good because it's such a strong blue and it's fairly neutral, so you can use it for anything. You can add a bit of red to it and still stay strong. Add a bit of yellow ochre to it, it still stays strong. Some blues, if you add a yellow ochre to them, like ultramarine blue, you add a yellow ochre to that, it will start to grey it off. Or if you've got a green blue and you add a red to it, it'll grey it off. But I'm finding that this phthalo blue is fairly neutral, like it's good. You can add either way. You can add red and it stays like a strong chromatic saturation, or you can add yellow ochre and it stays a good strong chromatic saturation. So that's why I've started using it a fair bit. No other reason, but you can use other things like cobalt blue. There's a good neutral blue. Get that up into those corners. Get a coverage going. That's good. She's going on. Get the corners nice and the edges nice and neat. Beautiful. Blend them together. Little broken marks with the big knife to give the illusion of light dancing around in the sky. Let me just have a look at that. Let's get that big patch of white water filled up. So we'll go more blue, phthalo blue, magenta, magenta, pretty and green. Mix it with those greys there. It's going to need more of the red dominance to knock that phthalo down, which is such a strong colour. Alright, plenty of magenta, a bit more of the green. And I'm going to put it in quite dark for now. I'll lighten her off a little bit, but it's, like I've said, it's always good to go dark first. Get your darks in. Let's get some magenta dominant just here. If you go dark like that, it's easy to lighten her off later on. The dark can give you some real dramatic effects in the water. Really make it feel like there's weed on the bottom and stuff like that, and give a real contrast for your turquoises and whatever else. Lighten her up a bit. Red. Lighten her up. Just greying it off slightly too as I'm going back. I'm trying to lighten it by adding white, but at the same time I'm greying it off by adding the magentas and the greens put together, which is weakening the saturation, so it's weakening the saturation so it's not such an intense blue. Those there. I'm just trying to work out where the turquoise is. I'm trying to leave patches because there's going to be a mixture of turquoise as well in a second. Pull that through nicely. More lighter values, a bit more white. Alright, I just got a little knife. I'm getting to this back corner over here. We'll use some more extra white. Just as it goes off here, I just want to lighten that value of the water. Take it back like so. What a beautiful day this is. Look at this. It's coming along. Getting ready to put all the big accents on, but first let's just have some patience and block her in first. Alright, so that's good. All right, time for those turquoises. Can't wait. White is really going to make things pop. Let's have a look. Where are we going to mix it up? White and pretty and green. There'll be a lot of subtle variances as I go. Some areas will have more blue-green. In some areas, as I'm changing the different depths of the water, some will have more of a yellow ochre dominance in them. Put that down there, nice. Stick that down. That's lovely. Okay, we'll just keep going with that. Stick that on. For example, when it gets, as the water gets more towards the shallow, like I was saying, we'll go white, put in green and white, just a tiny yellow ochre maybe. So it gets into the lighter bays, with less of the blue and more of the yellow ochres and greens. Just leave that for now. Pretty and green, more pretty and green, phthalo blue, pretty and green. Just want to get the value right, the right amount of white mixed up with it. As the water's deeper, it has less white obviously and more of the blue and green colours. All that in there, blending things around, there we go. That's good. Now that's going to be the beach there. Alright, now I'm going to leave that water for a minute and get stuck into the biggest differences, and as you can see there's plenty of white here that needs to be covered with the beautiful earthy colours. So I'm just going to make a bit more room on the palette by moving some of these colours, some of these cooler colours, stick them over here out of the way. I can still use those colours, but I want to get stuck into some beautiful earthy values now because there's a lot of cool colours, and since we put those warm earthy ones, everything will really start to come to life with those warm and cool colour contrasts. Clean the knife up a bit. Alright, yellow ochre, burnt sienna. I'm going to have to get more white out. Yellow ochre, burnt sienna and white. Keep going with that white, get that lighter. Beautiful sunny day. That's going on nice. Stick that in there. Just touch them around. Oops. Try not to blend too much yet because some of those darks will come through and smudge like that, which I don't want too much. So just go like so. Bring it down. Not quite touching those trees yet. Bring more down in here. There's the house there, rightio. Take that through. Throw it in. Now what I might actually do is throw a little bit of that cad yellow in as I'm getting right near the foreground. Use the white and a few little cads like that to really richen the area up. A bit more white, a bit more cad. With the yellow ochre, gets a very strong saturation then. Right to the edges, get a good coverage. Blend that in a minute, right, that's there. A bit more white, a bit more yellow ochre, a bit more cad yellow. Apply the paint. Yellow ochre, white, cad. Just got to get everything covered. There's so much work has to be done. yellow ochre. A little bit here in this corner so your eyes don't get drawn into that area too much. We want to get drawn away from this area. There we go. Lovely. That's good. Blend, blend, blend. Light and shadow. Little marks to give the feeling of grasses and whatever. It's where we're going to have a nice bit of reflection because there's a dam there. But it's a little spring or something, and it's part of the creek, and there's just a bit of water kicking around there. All right, well things are really starting to come along. We're getting beautiful colours through here. We're getting near to far and whatever else. Now I'm just going to work on the beach area through here and stick some of these pale blues so we get some whites and magentas and pale blue, so yeah, white and blue. And just knock a little bit in. I might just go a bit more magentas than that. White, blue, more white. Lighten that value. Alright, so just stick some of that in. There's a little bit of the wet sands reflecting the sky. Put a bit of that in. And then I'll go for the colour of the beach sand itself. I might as well put that in now. Go for some white. A little bit of burnt sienna. It's a very high key colour we're going to put in here. A bit of burnt sienna, a bit of yellow ochre. Let's just see what we've got here first. Getting close on what we want. Pull that through. It's going on nicely. All right, well, I think it's starting to come up really nicely, but what I need to do now is work on this little beach through here. That white there you can see is actually the white canvas showing through. I just want to put a few reefs in where they need to be and a bit more surf and some subtlety there. So that'll be some of those earlier reds and browns and magentas and whatever else. I'll just knock it back so it's not, just lighten the value a bit, you know, so it's not too, get a bit more white with the magenta and the blue. It's set back in the distance so we don't want it to be too dark. Knocking some beautiful blues here from the white surf in the shadow itself. That's nice, the way that's smudged like that's beautiful. Soften up some of this here. Beautiful, that's going on beautifully. If you pull it on the edge like that with a knife on the edge, dragging across, you get these little flecks where it's touching, the white's just touching, and that gives you that beautiful feeling that the foam, you know how the foam ends up in sort of ringlets and whatever else. You can't mimic that. You try and do that in refinement and you end up with just real stagnant, you know, static work. But if you just quickly drag across, you can quite often get the same effect, and it's just a once-off, fresh effect. And that seems to have happened there. That's the way to go. Right, we'll keep going with the white and I'll go into the distance a bit more, so I'll get that white. You stick it here, get a bit of magenta, just knocking it back a little bit so it's not as pure white. There's a little bit of atmosphere taking over now. The knife on edge. Hang on, let's just... a bit more yellow over than that. Chunky style, make it imitate the feeling of the grass growing. Directional marks. It's all coming along now. I'm going to get the knife, take a little bit of paint off. Just here, I reckon. Let's have a go. Round about there. Upright like that, and what that's done. Another one here, I reckon. That's getting back to the shadow tone underneath, and that shadow tone is creating those fence posts which are there without having to put them in. They're already starting to arrive, which is great. A bit of a dark tone here for this side. All right, things are really starting to come along now. We're getting that beautiful near to far, beautiful rich colours here, fading out to magentas and blues and whatever. Now, these buildings I haven't actually worked on yet. That white, that rooftop that you can see is actually just the white canvas left. And there's another bit of a rooftop there, and there's a little bit of a building out here. So I reckon I'll start putting some of those refining marks in to really start reeling the painting in. All right, let's go some magenta with some of those blues that we've already got. Got white, magenta, and a little bit of blue. We'll see how we go with that. Just a little bit of a rooftop that kicks along here. Like so. Alright, now I change knives to a slightly smaller one just so I can fit it all in. It's a little bit more high key. They've just had a new roof put on, so she's got a bit more of a sheen on the actual original cottage part. Let's have a look. It'll go down like that. And there seems to be some nice chimneys as well, classic Victorian style chimneys. So we'll go with yellow ochre, burnt sienna, mix that with a bit of white. More yellow ochre and burnt sienna. It's a nice earthy rock colour, because chimneys are. Just put that in. Alright, well, things are definitely coming along now. Absolutely beautiful. I'm really enjoying what's going on, the near to far on the whole thing. Warm and cool colours, the whole works. Now I've got that beautiful little cottage down here. There's another one just over here that I need to pick out. I've still just left the white canvas there for now. So what I should do is probably just get a little bit of shadow, magenta and blue. And just, right, where's it going to be? It is pretty much in the right spot, that. Pick out the shadow of the building, and needs a bit of a roof, so we'll go for some high key colours of whites and yellow ochre. No, actually cad yellow, or brighter, higher key. Knife on edge. Let's pick it out. Alright, well, here we are. Got the vehicle sat up here with the tarp pulled out, lovely stuff. And then we've got this beautiful view. Now I'm going to come right down this beach. First I'm going to have a bit of lunch back and camp here. We're going to go and head down to the beach itself. Check out, I'm waiting for the tide to go out. Apparently the tide's on its way out. And there's going to be a few rock pools in that, hopefully. I don't think it's going... So far it's not really that close to that, but I want to get the tide to be as low as possible, because it's absolutely beautiful down the beach, as you know, when the tide's low. So I'm waiting for that. That's why lunch is fine. I can take my time and just look around and enjoy the serenity of the place. And just compose in my head the view. You can see right off in the distance, I don't know if you can see that, but right off in the distance there's a land right on the horizon there. That's actually Kangaroo Island. So there you go. This is the mainland here. It's a 45-minute ferry trip across to Kangaroo Island, and we can see the island from here. So it's a fantastic view that goes all the way across. Okay, well, as you saw, I went back down to the location. Instead of finishing the painting, I was getting to that stage that I was thinking, right, what do I need to do? Because I really want to authentically finish this painting. And I thought, well, the best thing to do is, like the plein air, get right back in front of the subject and see what you think. And I'm really glad I did, because the moment I got down there, because I'd already painted this picture, the moment I got down there, I could straight away see things in the landscape that I wanted to alter. Maybe lighten the water just a little bit here, change the angle of that hill, but particularly the foreground. I was thinking about this foreground. I was thinking, right, what am I going to do to bring the foreground up a little more? Why don't I go down and check it out? So as soon as I got down, I saw the foreground, type a little bit of foliage that was growing, a few different things, a bit of thistles, the way the fence line was going, the way the detail around the house, everything just stood out straight away. So now I'm happy I've gone and had a look, refreshed my memory, and I'm ready to get stuck into it and finish this piece off. All right. So I'm going to add just a little bit more of this kind of red blue into the water. I noticed because it was such a beautiful sunny day, the water wasn't crazy dark. It had this beautiful kind of ultramarine blue, and you can use phthalo blue or ultramarine blue, but if you're going to use the phthalo, you've got to put plenty of magenta in to give that kind of red blue feeling. So just lightly put that over, and that's making it feel more like a sunny day. And now I'll just subtly blend that in and be good. Where the house is itself, it's just a little bit of a creek, a little bit of a lovely creek that runs down to the beach itself, choofs off past the house, runs out to the beach. Another bit of one out here. Just going to put the edge of that creek. There's a bit of a bank here somewhere like so. Just a few warmer tones, just drop them in with the edge of the banks popping. I want to get right down to this point and check it out really closely, so in the painting I can really understand the composition and really understand what I'm looking at. Even though this headland is in the distance in the painting, I love to get right up close and see what it actually looks like up close, so when I'm painting any sort of details in it, I know what I'm looking at and what I'm painting. Look at that. Beautiful smooth black rock. It's lovely black rock. All shiny and wet. Love the way the rocks kind of have an angle on them like that. Very much like the rock structure in the Flinders Ranges, where the ancient seabed in the Flinders Ranges is upheaved like that. This is actually the same fault line as the Flinders Ranges, just way further south. Alright, so just working on this foreground a little, just get some of these thistle-y colours, browns and magentas and whatever. Just lightly pull this back in here. That's it. Just some verticals to give the feeling of some sort of foliage in the foreground, just flickering little things, because in the distance everything's very soft and elongated, and in the foreground things are busier, so you get more chunks and whatever, and that'll bring it up, bring it forward. All right, well, I don't want to do too much. I reckon I've got the big impression. It's very much what I had on the first day, and just going out on location was exactly the right thing to do. I had the feeling it was, and when I was there, I absolutely loved it. Beautiful time, as you probably saw with some of the footage I took. And to get back here and be so fresh and know exactly what you're doing because you've just been in front of the subject. So, like I said, these foreground grasses, I really felt like I just needed to pick them up a little bit more. But at the time, I was thinking, what do you do? You know, yesterday I was thinking, what do you do? And then going down there, I thought, right, now I can see the actual foliage which is there. And that was some of these thistles, a few little bushes, and just the way the shadow is meeting the edge here, a bit more of a highlight there. You know, just very small things. Just make the post a little bit thicker on the fence post. Little tiny things like that, just tweaking. But being out there on location, refreshing my memory, coming back and having the confidence to give those confident marks to know what I want to put. Not wishy-washy stuff, what should I do? Get out there, look, work out exactly what you need to do, get it in your head, come home, and then powerfully apply the paint. All through this area here, you can see what I've done is I've just lightened the water ever so slightly, because I noticed on a beautiful sunny day like it was when I was there, the water's quite a rich blue and it's not too dark, and I felt like I had it a little bit dark in the tonal value. So just lightened it and intense the chromatic saturation on, as you would on a sunny day. So you've got that real blue, light rich blue that goes off forever and slowly fades. Slightly increasing the turquoise colour in the shallows, pulling a line of turquoise here and there through there just to give the feeling of a set. There's a rolling set of surf about to come in and break. Seems to be working. Accent the beach here a little bit brighter because I want to draw the eyes in. A few subtle blues in the shadows just to give the feeling of light and shadow, those warm and cool contrasts. A couple of flicks of orange to go with the blues in the foreground. On the whole, pretty happy with what's going on. Why don't we get that camera off now, come buzzing right in. You guys can have a look and see what you think. All right.